Am I audible over here? Last row. Yes. Sajid, actually we don't do this unmute in the daily classes, but for any reason, if you want, you can post a question. Not satisfied, call, and I think call to Satish, and I think I'll be able to answer immediately post class. Or if it is a longer discussion, we can have it over the weekend, because post class on weekend I'm available here for approximately 3 to 4 hours. So during that time, we can have a word with. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So fine. Today let us have fun, right? Methodic math and elanti newspaper articles ఉంటాయి కదా. That's something like that. Today let us basically think logically and do something. I am okay. Whatever you do is an absolute blunder. Also, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I want you guys to think, right? Since not many people are here, let us wait for a couple of minutes and get started, because this is something which we'll be doing. Everyone has pen and paper with you, right? లేని వాళ్ళు దయచేసి తెచ్చుకోండి, right? Yes. Let us wait for some time for the people to be joined, and because today we would start thinking logically. We would, the whole point is, the fear of scripting is something which, if it goes away, you can write better scripts. That's the whole agenda of my class today. Right. Okay. How many of you fear programming? బాబు ఈ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ మనకు కాదురా బాబు అని సగం ఎత్తారంటే కొంచెమే భయమా? All right. Okay. So let us try to pull away some of our fears. All right. Because most easiest thing in computing is programming, and difficult thing is administration. You are doing the second part, but you are fearing the easiest one. All right. Yeah. To become a programmer, what do you think we require? Pardon me. What is that? Vinapalla. Logical thinking. Okay. And enough programming syntax. Okay. Logic. Good. Any other terminologies? No. Enough. Logic, programming syntax, good programmer. Yeah, that's very much important. You should understand what you are doing, or what you want to basically achieve. That is definitely there. Yes. 2 minutes, I'll get started. Let us wait. 7:20 is a bar. Generally, I'm disciplined, right? So people follow my discipline. Today somehow I woke up earlier, so that's why I was 10 minutes earlier. Yeah. I can't blame these people. I have the blame to be taken. Military discipline అంటారు చూసారా? I'm regularly late for joining everything. Everything in my life, exam 15 minutes consistently late. All of that. I follow train timings. All right. Yeah. You can. You can learn Python also, by the way. It is not a difficult thing, man. As I'm saying again and again, the most easiest thing is programming. All right. But the only thing is, you need to get a knack of it. You should start thinking in that way. Right. For that, we need to have some basics. Yesterday, I've started with one about memory. I have said about two things. I said that whenever you want to allocate memory, you want to basically understand, do I need it tomorrow, or is it okay only for temporary purposes? In that cases, I said that you will allocate in the RAM, and allocating the memory in the RAM is the most easiest thing in any language. But on the hard disk, you have to do some extra stuff, because you have to write it to some file format, because hard disk will not have integers or bytes or whatever it is. Right. Okay. So let us get started. My question was, what is required to become a programmer? The answers were logic, programming syntaxes, right? Understanding was one thing which I agree with that. Okay, but let me tell you my way, or most of the people's way of understanding what to become a better programmer. What is that you need? You need arithmetic. What is arithmetic? Addition, subtractions, multiplications and divisions, కూడికలు తీసివేతలు. ఈ రానోడు ఎవడన్నా ఉన్నాడా క్లాస్ లో? రైట్. అండ్ ద సెకండ్ థింగ్ ఇస్ కామన్ సెన్స్. మనకి చాలా అడ్వాన్స్డ్ సెన్స్ ఉంది, రైట్? సో దట్స్ ఇట్. దీస్ ఆర్ ద ఓన్లీ టూ థింగ్స్ రిక్వైర్డ్. Rest of all you can easily find it out. Okay, these two will bring in something called as understanding, which he rightly pointed out. So if you understand what you are trying to do, then you think, apply these two things. You understand common, you apply common sense to it, and then if required arithmetic to it. That's it. You are a good programmer. అంతే, అంతకుమించి ఏం అవసరం లే. అన్నెసరీగా 16 మార్కుల క్వశ్చన్లు గుర్తుపెట్టుకునే ప్రాసెస్ లో ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ మనమే కాంప్లికేట్ చేసుకున్నాం. To just get good marks in programming, we have by-hearted programs. How many of you remember binary search tree? గుర్తులేదా? అసలు ఆ పేరు ఎప్పుడన్నా విన్నట్టుందా? రైట్? Yes? Okay. Fine. Before all of this, where did programming start? Why did programming start? Can you just tell me your reasons? అసలు ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఎందుకు మొదలైంది, ఎక్కడ మొదలైంది? Why did programming start and when did it start? ఏదో కనిపెట్టారు పని లేక, మేము తప్పక, అంతేనా? Is that the view? Any guesses why programming was basically started? Okay, kind of that is the answer, but purpose. The programming was first designed to kill human beings. Comedy గా అనుకుంటున్నారు కదా, but it is real. Have you ever came across something called as Enigma and Turing machines, which are base for all of our computers? Okay. during during World War, what used to happen was, at that time we didn't had this encryption or separate channels where you can send communication from one person to other person. German government was sending latitude and longitude positions to the people or to the army of Britain, so saying that they will be attacking that point via air, latitude and longitude positions. But at that time the stuff which they had was Morse code. So Morse code can be, is like FM radio. Anyone who has a device can listen to it. So obviously when they send, England also will listen to that, right? It is the easiest way. So what they used to do is they used to feed that latitude and longitude positions to a system called as Enigma, right? And an Enigma used to basically decrypt it, and that they used to send. And Britain government has found out that there is something happening on that, and James Turing has invented a machine which decoded that, which is basically a base for our Charles Babbage's computer, right? ఇదంతా విధ్వంసం నుండే మొదలైంది. The whole point is all of this has started from destruction. Yeah, later on we turned it for a good usage. That's a different story, right? So this is a base, not any other stuffs like what this is hidden from history, because you don't want students to learn that program was begun, this all of this was started because of destruction and all of that. No, right? Because there was one good side to it. We depend on a machine called as Turing machine, which has basically saved lives. That's the whole point, right? There was also a movie recently on that. I'm not sure how many of you have watched that, but there was I don't remember the movie, but it was about James Turing, right? Okay, fine. So next, whenever we want to write any program, right, the first thing which you have to think is, how do I solve that? And let us assume I have to give you the work. I have to tell you the work in the way you understand. Yes or no? right? For any programming languages, there are certain basics which you need to understand, right? So if we know that correctly, then you can tell to any language. Then you can tell to any language. Today, what we would do is we would apply these basics on PowerShell. Now, what I would suggest is you go and take that basics and apply to any programming language. Python, Java, Swift, anything. Whatever I'm trying to tell today, go and apply that to your any language which you want. Right? Fine. So let us assume I have given you a problem to solve. For solving that problem, there are certain problems where you need to do computation. Yes. So for example, I have asked you to find out simple interest, and you had given me principal, time, and rate of interest. So the formula is PTR by 100. Everyone knows about it. Now, but it is not me, it is some programming language has to do it. So for it, it needs three locations where the values are present: principal, time, and rate. We need to store it. Now, where do you store it? You are doing a calculator. Do you remember? Do you need to know this value tomorrow? No, you can calculate it again tomorrow. So the point is, I need to store this in my RAM. Yes, I need to store these values in RAM. Is it right? Yeah. Okay. Now, whenever I'm storing in the RAM, whenever I want certain things, right? So there is a huge land, right? And you want to construct house in that, right? All of the land doesn't belong to you, right? You will take something called as a plot. And what will plot have? Plot ఖచ్చితంగా ఉండేది ఏంటి? Size. How many yards? 30 by 80 or whatever it is. You will have some measurements, right? You need to tell the same thing to your operating system. I need a memory, but I need a memory of this size. How can we decide on the size? It is very difficult for us to decide on a size. So what programming languages do is, okay, any developers in the room, whatever I'm telling is quite basic, I know that, but there are people who don't understand this, so that's why I'm doing all of this, right? So to take a plot, we tell size, right? 120 yards or whatever it is, and sometimes we measure in square feet. So there is a unit for this whenever you want to buy real estate. Here also you are doing the same thing. Here you are leasing a real estate, you are not buying it, you are leasing it. So whenever you are leasing it, you will tell the sizes, and to tell the sizes, simply we write something called as data type. The whole reason for the existence of the data type is you are telling how much memory do I want, or how much storage space, or how many units of stuff do I want. For example, if you say int, you have written, all of you guys might have written int I equal to 1, int j equal to all of that stuff in your C, right? So at that moment you are trying to tell to C, saying that I need 32 bits of memory so that I can store numbers, right? You have written float, you have written double. The whole intention of you are reserving a memory location. Make sense? Right? Data type correct meaning is this is why we write data types. And data type, whenever you are using a data type, that means that you are getting a memory on your RAM. On your RAM. So whenever you write int a, string s, whatever it is, any data type which you are declaring, you are getting a memory location in the RAM. Based out of the type, you will be basically getting how many units of memory do I want, right? So data type is very important because it reserves some spaces, right? Based out of the computation, you have to decide what is the data type which you want to use, right? So generally, if I want to categorize data, what will be the kinds of data? You'll have numeric data, you'll have textual data or character based data, right? The other one is you would have yes or no kind of data, true or false. So any data types, if you go into it, you will have only these three categories: number, and in number you will have on one more format, saying that is that number has a decimal format or no. If it is decimal, you need more storage, right? So that's why we will have different data types. Generally in C based languages, you'll have something like float, double, all of that, right? And integers are the numbers without any decimal points, right? So when data type, the basic purpose for the data type is what? For memory allocation. All right. So whenever you want to write any logic, and let us assume today you want to use, let us assume Java. No one knows Java over here, and you want to write something in Java, and you know the logic. You need to calculate simple interest, right? Principal, will it have decimal values? Let us assume no. We learn to interest in round figures itself, and then time of no, rate of interest probably, but in this case let us assume that it will not have any decimals. So PTR by 100, we are not taking any decimal values, right? So what will you do? The first thing which you do in any languages, you need to find out what are the different memories which I can allocate. So you will be writing data types in you just Google for this, you will get a whole list, and you can use all of them for allocating memory. Some languages might have less, some languages might have more. That's the language's capability. We cannot have control over that. Make sense? Simple point, right? Now one more stuff over here. What happens is whenever you use data type for memory allocation, you will get a hexadecimal address. Hexadecimal address. Your RAM will look something like this Excel sheet in terms of the tabular data, right? It will have many locations where you can store memory. And let us assume you want to store over here. The address of this is what? E9. That is the Excel's format. But in the RAM, there will be hexadecimal format. RAM le the address in hexadecimal. But the problem with this notation is hexadecimal address is good. Let us assume that you get you get an address which looks something like this, 0x99. Yeah, you run the program again, it is not guaranteed that you will get the same address again, because that location might be used by some other stuff. Next time when you run the program, you get something like 0x102, something like this, right? So what is happening? The return which we get from the data type is always changing, and it is very difficult for us to write programs with addresses. Yes or no? Ilanti addresslతో programming రాయగలమా మనం? It is very difficult. So what they have said is use an alias. Use an alias to your memory location. So whenever I am saying this, everyone knows, right? Int a equal to 0. Yes. So what is it I'm trying to tell? I need a memory location which is int in whatever programming language it is. So I'll get some size. And the address of it, whenever I want to access that integer, I don't want to go by address, I want to go by a. So from now on, when I say this, a is equals to a plus 1. Okay. What do I mean is, go to that memory location, find out what is the value, add 1 to it, and store it again there. Because I can't go with hexadecimal addresses. One other problem is, let us assume in your system you will always have 0x99 available. You have ensured that it is available. You give your program to my system. Can you guarantee the same? But if I go with this approach, I'll not have any problem, because I am removing the dependency of addresses. But I'm not sure how many of you have done 8086 or 8085 programming during your graduation. Yes, assembly level programming. In that you play with addresses. In that you directly play with addresses. Avuna? Right? So you would write something like add 0x some number, comma, all of that you will be basically going by addresses. But in programming, we don't have that headache. We don't have that headache. For that, we would be basically using alias. And this alias is called as, if the alias can change, if the value of the alias can change, we call it as variable. If the value of alias cannot change, then we call it as constant. Are we making the sense? When we create a variable, we assign some value into it. And if you want that value to be changed, right, we will create an alias which is a variable. If you don't want that to be changed, let us assume that it is like pi 3.14 always, then we will call it as a constant, right? So that is something which your compiler will give it to you. That is something which your language specific compiler will give it to you, right? Till here clear? Yes. So every language will have different set of data types. Now When you come to the scripting world, right, you really need not worry about data type. Generally, if you work in Python, if you work in PowerShell, if you work in shell scripting, you really need not worry about data types, because the value of the type is decided while the program is executing. There are two kinds of memory allocations. One, whenever you before run the program itself, it will decide, okay, there are 10 integers, so 10 into 32 bits, this is what my program will take. You will do that kind of an analysis. Or in some cases you will not do that, you will run the program. While running the program, as the code is being executing, it will basically choose for memory stuff. So these are the two kinds of popular ways of allocating. One is statically typed, the other one is dynamically typed. Statically typed means or compile time memory allocations. When you compile itself, it will come to know what is the memory allocation which you would basically happen. The second one is while executing. So in language like Python, PowerShell, you will not, or PowerShell is a different story, it works in a different way. Let us not bring in PowerShell over here. But in some language you will write something like this. You will not tell the data type, you will say a is equal to 1. You'll just write this. You have not told int a equal to 1. So here your language compiler or your language will have an intelligence saying that, okay, the value which he is assigning is 1. So he is basically, he wants a memory allocation for integer. You write something like a is equal to quotes 1. You have put the 1, but 1 is in quotes now. So for it, quotes is string. So it will create a string. Right? So this is the other way. If you go to the Python, you'll basically be doing this. If you go into C, you can never do this. You have to C-based languages or Java. You have to tell the type. You have to tell int a is equals to 1 or string a is equals to 1. This is how you would tell. You need to tell in Java, but in language like Python, you would have a different. But when the memory is allocated, whether it is correctly planned or not, but the actual my basics never change. Right? Good. Okay. Looking good? Yes. Fine. Now, whenever you execute the program, who will execute the program? Who will? At the end of the day, who will execute your program? Your Chrome. Who is executing? You are using Chrome in your system, right? Do you agree Chrome is some code written? Yes. So who is executing Chrome? Chrome never execute చేస్తున్నారు, నేను చేస్తున్నానా, మీరు చేస్తున్నారా? Who is executing Chrome? Operating system. Any program at the end of the day is executed by an operating system. Okay. So at any cost, whatever language which you write, it should be converted to an operating system instruction. మీరు ఏ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో ప్రోగ్రామ్ రాసినా, you write program in any language, at the end of the day it will be converted into an OS instruction. And when you do it, there are two ways. When you do it, there are two ways. One we call it as compilation, the other one we call it as interpretation. ఏంటి ఇప్పుడా? Okay, let me pause for some time. There is another important discussion about openings. Our HR will speak to you, and after that I'll continue this interpretation and compilation. ఈ పాయింట్ గుర్తెట్టుకోండి, నాకు గుర్తుండదు మళ్ళీ. రైట్? ఎస్, రమ్మను. సౌండింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ లేదా మీరు కాకుండా డైరెక్ట్ గా పవర్ స్క్రిప్ట్ రాసినా? Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I think you have to use that. Okay. There are many people who it's very sensitive. Right, so this one or that one? This is for mic. That is for online. Go on. You can wear this one. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Is this audible? Yes? No? Last row. Am I audible? I think you have to do that. Okay, this way. All right. Okay, I think now it's loud and clear. Okay, very good morning, guys, again. I'm Deepak. I'm the HR here and also the spoken English trainer. So quick updates here. You may please write down my email ID, which is tag.hr
qualitythought@gmail. So you may communicate anything with me, I mean, regarding job openings or any feedback as such. If you're going and attending an interview and you want me to just run you through a mock interview as such, I would be more than happy to help you out. I guess most of y'all are also getting updates from my end about the openings. Yes? Yes? No? Are you getting any updates about the openings? I mean, it's been a while that there have been openings for DevOps, but I guess a couple of weeks ago I did share some openings in DevOps. Did you get them? Okay. Okay, guys. So you may email me, or if not, you can come and meet me personally. I'll be working at from the Satyam Theatre block in the first floor. So if you have any concerns as such, you may come and share it with me. And we are also starting the new spoken English batch. If you're interested, you may please come and join the class at from 5 to 6, and this will also be at the Satyam block. And quick updates, we are having workshops on artificial intelligence and Linux. I think you have got an update on that. So if you're interested, you may, or you can also ask your friends to join the class. Okay. And regarding the job openings, guys, if there are any openings, I'm sure I will be sharing with you. Make sure you gave the right email ID, because the last time when I was sending in when I was sharing these job openings, most of the emails didn't work, as in there was some error in your email. So please cross check with your counselor that you have shared the right email. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Can you please smile? Okay.
Okay. tag.hr@qualitythought.com. Yeah. For the people who have to write your mail ID of Deepak, tag.hr@qualitythought.com. Yeah. Okay. Fine. రాసుకున్నారా? రాసుకుంటే సరిపోదు, పిలిచినప్పుడు కూడా వెళ్ళాలి. Right? Fine. Okay then. So there are uh, two kinds of conversion that happens, right? Because whatever program which you write, it needs to convert to what? Operating system instruction. Whether you write Java, whether you write Python, whether you write shell script, you name it, any language has to be converted into an operating system instruction, because C, Java, .NET, Python doesn't have a capability to run anything. The only thing which the capabilities which they have is they can convert into something which your operating system can understand. Yes. So let us try to understand these two with an example which we already know, right? So Avengers movie అందరు చూసారా? Have you watched Avengers movie? At least సినిమా చూడకపోయినా పోస్టర్ అయినా చూసుంటారుగా. You have watched Avengers movie, and Avengers movie was basically not only in English, but it was given into all the local languages in India. How is it possible? What is that they do? They dub, right? What is dubbing? Okay, for the dubbing to be happened, in English movie has to be finished or not? Yeah, or they do before English movie was shot. When does the dubbing process start? Very important points. ఇవన్నీ మీ కంపైలర్ లో వస్తాయి, right? When does the dubbing movie start? After the movie is there, complete transcript is present in English, and what they will do, they will convert English into whatever local language which you are interested in. Let us assume, since we are speaking from Hyderabad, I'll speak about Telugu, right? So Telugu is something which the people here understand, right? Now, since Avengers movie in Hindi or in English was 2 hours, after dubbing, will the movie runtime increase or decrease? Same. Yes, it will be same. Okay, fine. Do you all agree to these points? Exactly, this is what your compiler does. Compiler is like a dubbing movie, right? So compilation has to happen. I forgot one more point about compiler. So will this dubbing happen while movie is playing in theaters or before movie is played in theaters? డబ్బింగ్ ఎప్పుడు జరుగుద్ది? సినిమాలో షో వేస్తున్నప్పుడు జరుగుతుందా, ముందు జరిగిపోద్దా? బిఫోర్, రైట్? సో ఎనీథింగ్ విచ్ ఇస్ కంపైలేషన్ హ్యాస్ టు హ్యాపెన్ బిఫోర్ యువర్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్స్. Exactly, that is what happens when with compile based languages. So what happens is you write the program and then you do a process called as compilation. So what it would do is it would convert into whatever it is. In Avengers case it was a Telugu movie, and in compilation case in languages like C or basically any other language, it will be converted into a format. C, in the cases of C, it will be converted into a format which is understood by your operating system, right? So if I want to convert into 3 different languages, so I have to do this process 3 times. Do you agree to that? Yes, good. So that's why whenever you are going into compiler based languages, you need to do a compilation for every operating system. So for example, you have written a program, you want to run it on Linux, you do one kind of compilation. You want to run it on Windows, you do one kind of compilation. Yes, okay, good, right? And then the next thing, which is the other thing, is other example is Modi turns to somewhere in Kukatpalli. Do all the people in Kukatpalli understand Hindi? Does Modi know Telugu? Namaskaram tappa emi radu, ante kada. Obviously that's the same knowledge which we have in Hindi, right? So what is the solution over here? You'll have something called as translator. What is the responsibility of the translator now? Okay, so when will the translator start working? Before Modi arrives in Kukatpalli? After Modi has left? So when? While Modi's speech is happening, right? So when this translation happens, what happens if the Modi speech was 15 minutes? Including translation, will it be 15 minutes or more? Modi speech in 15 minutes and translation speech in some other time, whatever delta it is. So it is 15 plus delta. Do you agree to this? Yes, exactly. This is what interpretation is. This is called as interpretation. Your languages like Python do this, or Java and .NET also have some kind of interpretation, but I'll not get into that. That is quite a complex kind of a scenario. But in this, what happens is you run the program, and while you are running this program, the Python software which is installed on your system acts as a translator. So what it does is every line which you execute, it will convert into an operating system instruction. That's the interpretation. Fine, understood the 2 programming differences? One is compilation, which is dubbing movie. The other one is translations. Absolutely, these are the only 2 points which we have. Okay, so when you compile you directly into operating system stuff, you don't need any software installed. For example, in C, if you have written a programming in C, you don't install C to run that program. Yes or no? But if you have written a program in Java, Python, .NET, you need to have Java framework or .NET, Java JDK, .NET framework or Python to be installed to run this. Why? Because they are interpreters, they are translators. They are translators. So with the translation, the best part is, let us assume that in Kukatpalli people understand Telugu and Tamil. Then what will happen? What is the scenario now? You'll have two translators, right? Yeah. What Modi delivers, will it change? No. That's what it is. So for example, if you want to run the Python program in Linux environment, you will have Python installed on Linux. That does the translation. If you want to run the Python program on Windows, so Windows translator already available as part of Python installed on Windows. That's it. These are the 2 kinds of stuff. Looking good? Yes. Okay, so we have to allocate variables, and then every language will be of these 2 types, whether it is interpreted or compiled. Making sense of it? Yes. Wonderful. Now let us try to write something around it. Okay, write something around it. Let us think of some simple stuff. Okay, and if you have any people who are basically graduating right now, Don't ask them to learn anything wonderful, right? Even you can start here, right? What was it? Some of you people might already know it. There is a website called as Project Euler. There is a website called as Project Euler. In there you get into this archive section. You can create a sign in into it also. This will have mathematical problems which you cannot solve by hand. Problems are simple. You and me know it, how to solve it. But the problem is, to solve it by hand, it will take a hell lot of time. So it is better to write a program. Okay. For example, let me go with this. First problem in there. So what is it saying? Yeah. Is it difficult? Is it time taking? Yes. That's the nature of problems here. Right? They are not very difficult to understand, but they are, you can't solve it by hand, but because you can't write 3, 6, 9, 15, 12, and you can't add on them continuously. So we need to write some sort of program. Let us try these kind of things. Right? Now, what I want you to do is, okay, can you write down the steps how you will solve this? I'm giving you 5 minutes. I want you to write down the steps of how you solve this. మీరు ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ చేస్తున్నాను అద్భుతాలు చేస్తున్నాను ఏమనుకుని రాయకండి, అప్పుడే తప్పులు రాస్తారు. Okay, you are trying to tell the steps how to solve this problem. Don't worry about any language. Even if you write in your mother tongue, I'm absolutely okay with it. Right? Can you write down all the steps to solve this problem? Yes or no? Yeah. Start doing, and from that I'll show you how, I'll prove how programming is simple. Write it down. Start it. 7:52 is the time. 7:57. I'm asking again. ఎలాగైనా రాయండి, మీ ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు రాయండి స్టెప్స్. దెర్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ కాల్డ్ as this structure you have to follow. You have to solve that and tell me how you have to. Don't write maths directly. You have to explain. You have to explain it to the person. So how do you write it? కావాలంటే తెలుగులో రాయండి. నేను 3 నుండి మొదలు పెడతాను, నవల రాసినట్టు. ఐఎమ్ ఓకే విత్ దట్. రైట్ ఇట్ డౌన్. కాగితాలు పెన్నులు లేని వాళ్ళు మొబైల్లో వాట్సాప్ బాగా ఫాస్ట్గా వాడతారు కదా. యూ కెన్ డూ దిస్ ఆన్ టైపింగ్ ఆన్ యువర్ సిస్టమ్ ఆల్సో. Install softwares like OneNote or Evernote, and you can do all of this on your mobile also. Try it down. We can prove programming is wrong. Programming is not very difficult. పొద్దున్నే కర్మ ఏంటనుకుంటున్నారా? Because now here the challenge is this, right? When we go to the PowerShell, the challenge could be configure IIS server, right? Or deploy an application which is already installed. Something like that. We'll have different challenges, but this is a mathematical challenge. I've taken mathematical stuff just because all of us know how to divide and how to multiply. All right. Rasara, did you write it? I don't want program, man. No. Muralidhar, I think, yeah, good. You have written it, but I don't want in this wording. So you have to explain in non-programming terms. What is it? So how will it look like? How will we start this? ఎలా సాల్వ్ చేస్తాం దీన్ని? ఆ ఏ బిల్ ఆల్సో I don't know. I'm an illiterate man. Try to explain me the program. The only thing which I know is multiplication, division, and addition. Basic arithmetic. Tell me how will you do that? Can I write something like this? 1, 2, or whatever it is. Okay. Check whether whether this number is divisible by 3 or 5. Yes. Okay. Increment number by 1. If you have written step numbers, you can write go to step 1. Something like this. Antena? Right. This is the basic stuff. But what he has asked is, he has asked to sum all the numbers which are divisible. Right. So let me just write it in notepad where I get the notepad plus plus where I get the numbers. So I don't want to write any programming terminology. I want to write in a very plain, simple stuff. Okay. First, start from 3. Because the number is divisible from 3, it doesn't make sense for me to start from 1. Anyway, I know that it is not divisible by 3. Start from 3. Right. Okay. And can I tell this? Check whether number is divisible by 3 or 5. Okay. If divisible, okay, add number to what? Something called as sum. We will just put something on the back of our brains just to saying that whatever is that, you add it to the sum. Okay. And then increment number till 1000 or whatever, till 10, whatever it is. Okay. And go to step. Can't you write something like this? దీనిలో ఎక్కడన్నా ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఉందా? ఇది అందరూ రాయగలరు కదా? Are you confident that you can write something like this? I'm not saying same wordings also. కావాలంటే తెలుగులో రాసుకోండి. You write it in Telugu. I'm okay with that. 1 నుండి మొదలు పెట్టండి. మెల్లగా ఆ నెంబర్ని 3తో కానీ 5తో కానీ డివైడ్ చేయండి. Right. Anything that makes sense to you. Okay. Yes. Now this you want to convert. This is something which we call it as algorithm. Right. But when we write standard algorithms, there is some process, but let us not worry about it. We are not very matured developers to write the algorithms in a format that everyone can understand. First, our basic assumption should be, ఇది చదివితే ఏం చేయాలో నాకు తెలియాలి, పక్కనోడి గొడవ తర్వాత. Yes or no? Yes. Can we do this? Is this a difficult job? Right. Now when you try to convert this into programming terms, then we need to know something. Right. So I am speaking about numbers. I'm speaking about numbers. So do I need to allocate memory? Do I need to allocate memory in the RAM? Yes. And to allocate memory in the RAM, do I use variable? Yes. So that's how I do it. So what I do is, I would say that I want to take a variable. Okay. I'll call it as, my variable's name is start. My variable's name is start. Start is equal to 3. See, I'm just trying to write it into some format which is not actual program, but something like that. right? Now what is that I have to do? Check whether the number is, you and me have learnt maths, so we know how to divide the number, but your programming doesn't know that. Your programming doesn't know that. So for that we need to know something called as operators. What are they? Operators. And basically I'm speaking only about integer operators. Let me write it over here itself. Integer operators. I'm not getting into all the other operators. These are the following operators. One is equals. Equals is assignment in most of the languages. Whatever is there on the right hand side, you just assign it to the left hand side. So the example of this is a is equal to 5. So what does it mean is, what on the right hand side, what is that we have? 5. Assign that to a alias called as a, which will indirectly go and fill your memory in your RAM. Yes, good. And then we have double equals to symbol is equals. It will check whether a is 5 or not, or whatever it is. So whenever you write this, the return of this will be false. When you write this, the return of this will be true. That's it. So these are called as binary operators. An operator which will give you a result of true or false, right, are called as Boolean operators. Sorry, not binary operators. Boolean operators. They return basically true or false. Ante. But the first operator doesn't return true or false. It is just an assignment. It will not return anything, right? And then we would have normal operators: plus, minus, star, divided by, right? So we all know all of this. So 5 into 5, 25, right? If I want to assign it to a variable, then we already have an assignment operator, a equals to 5 star or 5 star 4, 5 plus 4, 5 divided by 4, whatever it is. Make sense? Right. Now, at the last we have one more operator which we call it as modulus operator, which is percentage. Right? So do you all remember division? Yes. And I'm speaking about integer division. ఒకటో తరగతిలో చేసే division గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాను. Right? So I say this. I have to divide 4 by 5. So how do you do that? You would say 4 ones are 4, and then you would have, intena, you would have a remainder of, I'm not getting into decimals, I'm just okay with this. This is called as integer multiplication. Now when I divided 5 with 4, I got a quotient which was 1 and a remainder which was 1. So now this is a by b, or this is 5 by 4. 5 by 4 will give you what? 1. And 5 percentage 4 will give you, simple. Yeah. Now by looking at this, if I have to tell that the number is divisible by 3 or not, how can I do that? I tell 6, you do 6 with 3, what will you get? What will be your quotient? Remainder? Okay. 9, what will be the quotient? Remainder? So what is the pattern? When I divide it by 3, if the remainder is 0, that is divisible. Yes or no? Yes. So can I go back over here and write the statement? Start percentage 3, if it is equal to 0, it will give me true or false, right? But I have one more stuff. I have to tell divisible by 3 or 5. Yes. So I'm writing or. I'll be writing start percentage 5 is equal to 0. Now basically, if this is equals to true, so can I write this? For this conditional statements, I know we have seen if a lot, so I'm not explaining what if is. So can I write this? If is equal to true. There is no need for you to write this, but it's okay. Is equal to true. Then what it should happen? You will take a variable called as sum, and in that sum you will put. Make sense? Right? So you have done this program looking good. So you will, for that sum, you will create a variable, and initially what will be the value of sum? Good. This is good only for 3. We start with 3, but what should happen after that? 3 should become 4, and then 5. So value of the start should be increased or not? Okay, ఈ స్టెప్ అయిన తర్వాత స్టార్ట్ వాల్యూ పెరగాల. Yes. So can I do this? Start is equals to start plus 1. Simple. Then it will become 4. After that I have no code, so I have to tell over here, somehow go to here, go to the line number 8, go to line number 8. So earlier there were use of something called as go to statements. I'm not getting into that. That's the worst way of programming. So you have to repeat this line till your start value is 1000. Do you all agree to that? So for that we are repeating the same line again and again, or same block again and again. Here comes looping statements. Here comes looping statement, that is while, for, or whatever it is for you. So I'll be writing while start is less than or equals to 1000. Okay, and then I'll be basically putting curly braces. Solved. And after this, if you print sum, good. ఇంతేనా బ్రహ్మ విద్య ఇది? Is it sounding simple now? Why it is sounding simple? Because you have written that 1 2 3 4 lines. If you don't write that, and if you start writing this program, yeah, you might succeed till some point, but after some point that would be gone. Remember, in the beginning of the class I have been told that one important thing to do the programming is understanding, right? Your lines 1 2 3 4 in this explain, understand. Now you take any problem in the world, you can do it like this. First write it in a way which you are able to explain your program or your logic, right? Now looking good? Shall you try the same thing in PowerShell? Yes. So to do this in PowerShell, what is the editor which I have said? PowerShell ISC. So I'll open PowerShell ISC. Okay, పెద్దగా మార్పులు అవసరంలా, but let us see. You have to write in some syntactical format. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, I'll create a new file, and whatever I have written over here, I'll copy paste this. Okay, and if you see over here, he is giving me some errors. Okay, if it is a if condition, you cannot write it like this. This is what is called as syntax. We have written a more generalized format, but whenever you are writing in some format, some language, some scripting, you will have some syntactical elements to be taken. Now wherever you are seeing left red over there, start is less than or equals to 1000. Okay, now let me see this, whether the same thing will happen or not. Okay, fine, it's okay, man. Okay, good. And we still have some errors. That's okay, we'll solve it. What are the errors which are saying? Missing statement block, and here it is saying unexpected token 100, and then what it is saying, less than operator is reserved for future usage. So whatever logic which we have written is correct, but we are unable to fit it to a language. So this is where you will learn language specific syntaxes. So before fixing this program, When did the syntaxes come into play? Syntax playing important role. When did it come into play? Whenever you wanted to execute that in some language. Right? Now, if I want to do it in Python, if I want to do it in PowerShell, I need to know PowerShell syntaxes. If I want to know in Python, I should know the PowerShell or Python syntaxes. Right? So let us assume I want to write the same program in Python. What will I do? What is that my programming is having? Variable assignment, while statement, right? So can I do this? Variable assignment in Python. Just go whatever you can go crazy into whatever text which you want. I don't want you to stick to a certain book, certain website for learning this. Are you seeing this? So are we good here? We have done the same thing, right? Yes. Now, what is the other thing which you want? While in Python. All right. So Python while looks something like this, right? And it is very simple. Now let us assume that I want to write the same program in Python. What I would do is I take this, copy this, okay, and I would write something like this. While in Python you have to tell the syntax is like this, right? In Python you will not have this curly braces. Done. This is your program in Python. Yeah, it might have some syntactical errors which we can check by saving this file. If you have to write this in Python, what will you do? You will save this file as .py and then you will say Python whatever file name .py and it will execute. I have to write this in Java. What will you do? You will find out how to write a while in Java, how to do variable assignment in Java, right? And whether the things are working or not. That's it. Simple, right? So మనం రాసిన ఒక మోస్తరు ప్రోగ్రామ్. There is one more thing which I have to do. Yeah, that's it. Good. Yes. It will be an infinite loop. Why? Yes. Yeah. It will not be. So if I have done this, oh sorry, if I have done this, it would be an infinite loop. Right? Okay. Let us not worry about it. But మనం గొప్ప ఏం చేయాల, but we have taken a simple syntax. Now at least are you confident that I can try this in multiple languages? Yes. Now you have to do in PowerShell. Tell me what you have to do. You have to do the same Google search. What is it? Variable assignment in. Okay. Sets the value. Good. Syntax. You have to use something called as dollar to represent a variable in PowerShell. In Python, we don't have that requirement. So that's why if you go over here, I've said, right? But less than or equals to. It is telling it as a what? Error. Okay. Now what I can tell less than or equal to in not a very difficult thing to do. It is very simple. You will have, if you see equals to, they have something called as EQ. Okay. Let me search for something called as minus LTE. Okay. Or LE if I'm not wrong. So here you cannot use that operators. You have to use something which looks like this. So minus Done. And now for equals, it is minus EQ. It is minus EQ. And now what is the other thing which you need to look at? R. Right? So how do you write R? R in PowerShell. He says for R, you have to write minus OR. Okay, good. And then what is the other thing which you are seeing as an error now? Rest of the thing seems to be good. Okay, we have to do this all the time. $start, $start, right? And then $sum, $start, $start. Whether you like it or not, here we have to go with dollar every time because dollar in PowerShell is a variable. Now you do this. Okay, print. Oh, sorry, print dollar. Good. Now there is one more problem. What is it? Let me click on this. Missing statement after if condition. So there is something which I need to do for if. So let me see what that is. For if also you are supposed to write curly braces. Okay. And the program which I have written, did I convert it into PowerShell? Why? Because my algorithm was strong. Did I write it into Python? Can I write it into .NET? Can I write in Go language? So what is basic? Do you need syntaxes? గుర్తున్న క్లాస్ మొదట్లో కొంతమంది సింటాక్స్లు కావాలన్నారు. సింటాక్స్లు కావాలా? By the way, all of this whatever I'm telling today is covered in engineering in a subject called as principles of programming languages. That's what it is. But unfortunately we don't read that. దాంట్లో ఏదో లాంబ్డాలో బేటాలో ఉంటే మనకి ఎందుకు దరిద్రం అనేది లేదు. That's a basic stuff. Is it solved now? Shall we execute this? So, oh, what is that as we can't write here. You have to write echo. There is no print here. You have to write echo. So what is happening? Echo sum, and it has given the value of 1000, which is not correct. Why? Because it is sum is equals to what? Sum plus start. Okay, and now our program might fail. That's fine. So it is giving some value. You just post this value in your login into your project euler and find out this value. Either the value is in the print sum. You take that value and post it as an answer. Then you will come to know whether it is correct or not. Was it a difficult thing? Yes. So now if I have to solve the other problem, what is the first thing which you should always do? So in all of this journey, what was the difficult thing? So to me, the difficult thing is if you are good at this, you can do anything. And that the major part of your program doesn't expect you to know programming language. కానీ మన ఇంజనీరింగ్ నుండి చేసిన తప్పు ఏంటంటే we try directly to write this. That's where programming will become బాబా అయ్యని నాకు అక్కడ గుర్తుంటాయండి. That's not an approach to write any program. Right? Making sense? Sounding interesting? Yeah. So class, when you came into the class, do you have an understanding now that saying that programming is not that difficult if you know what you are doing? Yes or no? కొంతైనా అభిప్రాయం మారిందా? I'll tell you an example. I've said while taking blockchain classes, I've taken JavaScript classes. Right? A person who is from non-technical background is now posting Alexa skills. We know Alexa, right? Amazon Alexa, which is Basically, you ask it something and it will basically tell what is the capital of Australia. You are seeing an ad, right? So there, to that you can train skills. And now he's in a position to post Alexa skills where he's posting directly to Amazon. That's it. Because he knows what he wants. He's writing the same thing, and then he's converting it into a JavaScript which Amazon knows. That's it. Okay. And what do you think the developers do? డెవలపర్లు చాలా మంది డెవలపర్లకి ఇంత పని కూడా ఉండదు తెలుసా? మనం ఇప్పుడు ఆలోచించాం కదా, ఇంత పని కూడా ఉండదు. Microsoft.NET will give them hell lot of libraries. Java framework will give them hell lot of libraries. Apart from that, they have third-party libraries. The only thing which they will be doing is they will write their simple logic, and they will be using those libraries a lot. They'll be using those libraries a lot. You might have heard about machine learning. Yes, in machine learning there are machine learning libraries like TensorFlow which are written. If you know what you are doing in your programming language, you are just calling those libraries. But the major thing is these steps. And I would recommend you, for doing your DevOps automation also, you do that. If you do that, your logic can never go wrong. That's right. Let us assume our program has a bug now. Our program has a something where it is going wrong. So what is the first thing which you will check it? Your logic. So where is that my logic is going wrong? No? Make sense? Right? Okay. So what I would recommend you is, I have tried problem 1, right? Yes. Can you try this? Problem 2. What is it saying? Fibonacci series. What is the Fibonacci series? You start from 0 and 1. What is 0 plus 1? 1 plus 1? 1 plus 2? 3 plus 2? 5 plus 3? The series goes on like this. This is called as the Fibonacci series. He has started that Fibonacci series from 1. So first is you need to calculate that series. Right? And now, considering the Fibonacci series which do not exceed million, find the sum of even valued terms. You have to find what is the even numbers, and you have to calculate the sum. In the previous example, we have calculated the sum of numbers which are divisible by 3 or 5. Now you are trying to calculate even numbers. What is even number? A number which is divisible by. So we know the logic also now. But please don't write program direct. మనకున్న పెద్ద రోగం ఏంటంటే మనం డైరెక్ట్ గా ప్రోగ్రామ్ రాస్తాం. We fail there. If you write steps, you will never fail, because if there is something wrong, your steps are wrong. Then you have to suit it to your needs. Okay, mark my words. If you don't trust me, you can try it. మీరు రాసే ప్రతి ప్రోగ్రామ్, write it in PowerShell, shell script and Python. Do this for 10 examples and see how much you have learned in your programming language. Project Euler, try 10 programs. Write everything in PowerShell, shell script, bash script, and then Python. ఇంతకు మించి మీ దగ్గర ఎవడ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేయడు కూడా. But it is not difficult. That's the whole point which I'm trying to tell. Sounding interesting? Are you convinced? Or was it a waste of 1.5 hours? Right? I would have completed my syllabus, gone into commands like, okay, you do PS pipe where object. Do you want me to do that, or do you want to think logically? Because if you know this, right, you can learn anything. That's the whole point. Right? You can now do the same program on Apple's Swift, which is newly created programming language for writing in Mac systems or iPhones or whatever it is. You can do the same thing. Good. Okay, don't restrict yourself. Programming రాదేమో, ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ రాలేనంత గొప్పదేం కాదు. But unfortunately what we do is, మీరు నేను చెప్పింది అవునా కదా, we just give it a try. We always try to write directly the program, and this is where we fail. But if you have an understanding, you will never fail. Right? Today my program is mathematical problem. In DevOps, my problems would be basically, what are my problems? My problems are configuration or installation problems. So I'll be writing steps for that, and then I'll be writing script for that. So you'll write shell script, PowerShell script, Ansible script, or Chef script. Anything. If you know what you are doing, it is simple. If you go to Chef or Ansible, things, or PowerShell DSC, things will be simplified, because there you are not writing. This is called as imperative programming. What is it? Imperative, because you are telling what has to be done. If you go to the declarative programming, you don't do that. You tell what you want for the things which it knows. We have to do this, but for the things which it know, you have to just tell what has to be done. I want IAS server to be installed. That's how you write it. But if you are writing declaratively, you tell download the IAS from some website, double click it, click next until it says finished, and that is how you do it. So that's the difference. Good? Yes. Now let me take look at questions. Yeah. Wonderful. Looking good? Programming custom kadand. Right? I don't have a time to take programming sessions, because that is the most, as a computer engineer, you should be doing this. You are doing more complicated jobs and you think this is complicated because you don't know the steps. That's it. Now for the people who is doing Selenium automation, let us assume, how many of you people are from testing? Right? So Selenium automation lo adbhutalu jarugutayi. Adbhutam emi undadu. Button click cheyali. You will have a class called as button, and it would have a method called as click. Okay? And now you have to tell where your button is. That's it. You are, for the people who write shell scripting, in the ante problem is different, but will it not work out this way which we tried it out? Right? Write a shell script to install MySQL server. Will this logic help? Try this. దీని అలవాటు చేసుకోండి, దేంట్లోనే రాయొచ్చు. టైం పట్టొచ్చేమో, ఇట్ టేక్స్ డిఫర్స్. ద ఓన్లీ థింగ్ దట్ డిఫర్స్ ఇస్ ద టైమ్ విచ్ హాస్ టేకెన్ బై మీ మైట్ బి లెస్. ఫర్ యూ ఇట్ మైట్ బి more, because you are starting today. If you try this for 1 year, your time and my time will not have much of a difference. Right? In this way, there is no need for you to remember anything. You just need to remember what you have learned. I'm quite sure here everyone has learned about if condition, everyone has learned about for condition, and we know how the syntaxes work. I'm just using that knowledge. That's it. Right? Fine. Okay. Yeah, please. Windows DevOps online class. What is it? What is it you want? Okay. So by the time we finish, will you follow this religiously? Follow this approach religiously. You can write any script or anything which you are going to learn in the future in terms of scripting or programming. Yes, this is very much specific to Windows. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to write PowerShell scripts. And before I write those scripts, I want you to have the logical understanding of what we do. All right. So that's why today's class is around that logical understanding. Right. You know the problem. And are we going to do DevOps on Linux? Mostly yes. This is the only class where it will be mostly on Windows. Rest of all the 5 sessions are on Linux. Right. Yes. Linux, not Unix. Right. Linux. Fine. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow, and I would recommend you to try this. Try problem 2. Maha aithe tappodu program. Antaku minchi nashtam em jaragadu. Me program infinite loop jaragochu, tappulu avvachu. Bring that program to me. Let me help you out. Right? Thanks.